Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with another video. I'm really tired. It's been a very hectic day, surprisingly. I've had to go run here, there, and everywhere to get um, plaster because the wall around my window is cracked and the cracks are getting worse. If you follow me on YouTube, you'll know that I've occasionally posted about this, trying to get the New York City Housing Authority's attention, and as usual, they ignore you. Uh, they sent someone here, some dude named Ty, like 2 weeks ago, to take pictures, and they say, oh, we're gonna send someone immediately, and that person never comes. So now I have to take matters into my own hands and run out and go get supplies and spackle and drop cloths and all this other BS that they should be taking care of to fix the problem. I think it probably happened because earlier in the month there was that transformer fire or explosion, whatever it was, that knocked the trains out of whack for a few days earlier in the month, like the first week of the month. So I think it was caused by that because there was no issues with the wall around the window. And the other window where my AC is fine, and every other part of the room is okay. It's just that. So I think it was caused by that, but they won't come and fix it because, of course, they don't. You pay your rent each month on time, but they can't get their lazy asses over here to, fix something that I didn't do, I didn't cause, and they should be taken care of because, they're the housing authority. But of course, when you live in public housing, this is how you are treated. You are treated as a second-class citizen. But anyway, enough griping about all that. The point of this video is not to talk about my housing woes, but rather to talk about my comic woes. In particular, Marvel Studios and the possibility that they may be dropping the men from the name X-Men, right? So there's been a bit of conversation, let's say, or debate online about this. I've made a few tweets making it clear that I am not in favor of the X-Men losing the word men, right? And you don't need to change the name to be more inclusive when the X-Men are literally the diversity and inclusion property that Marvel has. That they've always been defined by that, and they've always had female members. There's always been at least one woman on the X-Men. You can take it back to, what was it, 1963 when the books debuted, right? One of the original five was Jean Grey, right? And she's been a consistent member. She's been one of the most powerful members, one of the most powerful people in Marvel Comics in general, especially as the Phoenix, right? But let's go through this article and then I'll give more of my thoughts. And again, if I seem a bit out of it, it's because I am. But anyway, this is from the Post Millennial, I believe, but there are other news outlets that have been covering this. But it says here, Marvel Studios may drop men from X-Men to be more inclusive. And there's a little quote down here saying, I don't know where the future is going. It's funny that people call it the X-Men. There's a lot of female superheroes in that X-Men group, so I think it's outdated. Respectfully, no, it's not outdated. It's not our problem that you don't understand that the word men in this case is all inclusive. It is not specifically referencing the male gender. But anyway, so we get several of the movie era X-Men with the trans flag. I think that's the trans flag, right? Behind them for some reason. But anyway, it says here X-Men may soon be getting a makeover as Marvel Studios reportedly feels the name is not inclusive. Again, this is the property that has always been defined by diversity and inclusion. Not just for Marvel, but for comics in general. This is literally what the X-Men are famous for, being a multinational, multicultural, multi-religious group of superheroes. And yet now they want to claim that the name is not inclusive. But anyway, it says here, according to We Got This Covered, Marvel Studios' new president of physical post-production, VFX, and animation, Victoria Alonso, has suggested a possible name change. I don't know where the future is going. It's funny that people call it the X-Men. There's a lot of female superheroes in that X-Men group, so I think it's outdated, she said in an interview. And right there, you can tell she knows absolutely nothing about the X-Men. It says here, also hinted at future projects in the MCU, which would be musicals. I'm not sure superheroes and musicals actually work. I remember they tried that several years ago with some sort of like U2 musical project, or U2 or Bono was going to be doing the music for it. I think it was called Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark or whatever, and then I'm not sure if it ever aired or if it ever got released, but I remember hearing like a stunt person got injured or killed or something. That thing was just cursed. But anyway, it says here, I am especially thrilled about ramping up our studio's animation efforts, which is a personal passion of mine. Look forward to more singing. So, in other words, they want to basically turn, at least from what I take of this, they want to turn uh, the MCU now into more or less Disney films, which I don't think really works. But even if it did, it's like superhero comics and Disney movies are not the same. They don't work. Okay? I don't want to hear a song about Scott and Jean, having a crush on each other. Just because it works in Beauty and the Beast with something there doesn't mean it's going to work in the X-Men. No, don't do that. Okay, let the MCU and the comics and the cartoons be action oriented superhero comics, and let Disney films be Disney films. Although current day Disney doesn't even know how to make a Disney film anymore. But anyway, it says here, the films themselves have subtly hinted at this change. In the movie Dark Phoenix, let's remember at the film Dark Phoenix tanked 2 summers ago. Mystique says to Charles, by the way, the women are always saving the men around here. You might want to think about changing it to X-women. That's not subtle at all, so I'm gonna assume that when the writer wrote this, they were being sarcastic. But Mystique, would Mystique say that? I don't think comics Mystique would. I don't think she would care. She never struck me as the feminist type. She was just more about survival. And right, it was basically survival, her complicated relationship with Rogue and Nightcrawler, and her love for Destiny. It's like she will go to the ends of the earth for Destiny. That is the love of her life. It's like outside of that, unless you're her children, which she kind of cares about, or your Destiny, she really doesn't give a damn about you. But anyway, I know that the film version uh, of Mystique is quite different from the comics version. And I don't really watch the films, so the only version I'm really familiar with is the comics one. It says here that studio head Kevin Feige, who, remember, I think a few months ago during the whole Pride thing, there was the Hellfire Gala, and he was in it. He was in that comic asking Scott Summers, Cyclops, what's your story? Wonderful. Great. I'm so happy. But anyway, it says here studio head Kevin Feige also reportedly feels the name X-Men is too old fashioned and not progressive enough. I repeat, the most progressive diversity and inclusion, or rather say pro diversity and inclusion, book, series Marvel ever had, and it's too outdated and not progressive enough. They don't know a damn thing about the X-Men. They don't understand why the X-Men became so popular. Again, in the early 90s, what was it? X-Men X-Men Volume 1, Issue 1, something like that. It was basically the last comic, the last X-Men comic at the time Chris Claremont wrote on, and Jim Lee did the art. That sold millions upon millions upon millions of copies. It's one of the highest selling single issue comics of all time. And that even includes manga, right? It's outsold some manga, that one issue alone. And yet they want to talk about it. It's too old fashioned and it's not progressive enough. Idiots. But anyway, other reports point to a new name, the Mutants. Oh my. I mean, that's just so engaging, right? The Mutants. I mean, that's not even an inclusive name. It's just bland. It's, what's inclusive about that? There's nothing distinct about that. The Mutants. And there are plenty of mutants who are not X-Men. Dazzler's not exactly remembered as an X-Man, and she's a mutant. The hell's your point? But anyway, which is in active production and seemingly set to reboot the X-Men franchise. Oy vey. Other comic book studios have also gone down an identity politics route. Earlier in the summer, DC Comics made Robin come out as bisexual, specifically because it irritates me when people say Robin. Robin is a mantle. Robin is a mantle that has been held by 4 guys at this point and 1 female. Okay? Robin's a mantle. Robin is not gay. Robin is not bisexual. Robin is not straight because Robin is a freaking costume. It has no orientation. It is not human. It is a mantle. It is a label that gets passed on from young Bruce clone to young Bruce clone to young Bruce clone, and one time Stephanie Brown. So let's get that clear. Tim Drake, who has been Robin, and Red Robin, and Drake, and a bunch of other names he's had. Tim Drake, the person in the costume, or one of the people who's worn the costume over the long existence of Batman comics, has been retconned really to be gay, but they try to sort of let you down easy by saying, oh, he's bisexual, although he broke up with his girlfriend, Stephanie Brown, a spoiler, for absolutely no reason. If he were bi, then at best he would be tempted to cheat on her with a guy. But he wouldn't want to leave her because he would still be in love with her. By his own admission in that comic, he didn't know why he was breaking up with her. So really it's that he's gay. They're just trying to use bi to justify and explain the fact that he has had female lovers and a long-term female love interest throughout his history. They can't exactly retcon that out, or they don't want to, the same way that Marvel tried to do with Iceman. So instead they just say, oh, he's bi, but what they really mean is that they retconned him to be gay, which is stupid. He's not gay. Just make a gay character. But anyway, Marvel Comics also unveiled, scroll down. Marvel Comics also unveiled its first gay Captain America during Pride Month of 2021. And what have that done with that character since? Not a damn thing, because they were never intending to. They did it for Pride Month. Same way they're not going to do a damn thing with Prodigy, or Akin, or North Star, or any other character that they pulled out of the closet just to remind you, say, hey, we have gay characters. Let's celebrate them. And then the moment the month of June ends, they just throw them back in the closet. Just put them back in the closet. Just allow them to, just gather dust and do nothing. No new stories about North Star. No new stories about Prodigy. No new stories about Akin or Mystique or anyone else. They did nothing with it. They won't do anything with it. But anyway, so that's the article itself. It's pretty short. Now, my thoughts on this, I think I've made them clear, but I'll state them again. The Men in X-Men does not need to go away. X-Men is an iconic name. You know immediately what that is. Whether you're familiar with the comics, whether you're familiar with the cartoons, whether you're familiar with the movies, right? And all of these now have, decades of history behind them, right? Even the films, right? The first film came out in 2000 or 2001, so it's about 20 years now, right? To change the name at this point to sound more inclusive while erasing all of the personality from the names by going with something generic like the Mutants is absolutely asinine, and modern day Marvel is smart enough to do it. They're so smart they're dumb, and it would not surprise me one damn bit if they did this. As an X-Men fan, I am very, very, very angered by this. I as a reader, I as a woman of color, never felt excluded from the X-Men as a reader. No one ever gave me gruff for reading X-Men. As I've said multiple times in videos addressing comics, my favorite character is Wolverine, right? It's, Mr. Claw, Stabby Stabby, McGruffface, right? He looks nothing like me. He doesn't have to. Our lives are nothing alike. They don't have to be. I relate to him because of his anger and his desire for a quiet life and his inability to find it. And I think Storm is an awesome character. I love Storm, but I don't relate to her. I don't see myself in her. Just because, she's black or African, really, to be fair. She's only half black American because her dad was from Harlem, her mother is from Kenya, right? But still, right, she's always been sort of like the resident black person or black woman on the X-Men. And she's awesome, and I love her, right? But I don't relate to her, and that's okay. It doesn't make her a bad character. It doesn't make me a bad fan. I can be a fan of something or someone without personally feeling like I see myself in them. There are some characters you relate to because you see elements of yourself, good or bad, in them. And there are others where they're nothing like you, but they're engaging, they're cool, they're interesting, and that's why you're interested. That's why you're invested. It can be Nightcrawler, it can be Rogue, it can be, variety of characters, Jean Grey, Scott, right? But here's the thing. What I wonder is, does Victoria Alonso honestly know anything about the X-Men? Or in particular, the women of the X-Men? Does she know that Storm was leader of the X-Men in the 80s? And that she became leader by defeating Scott in mutual combat when her powers were taken away, I think by Forge. But she didn't have her powers, and she still beat him in a fight. And that's how she became leader. Has she read those issues? Did she even read the Wikia about that? Does she know that Storm went toe to toe with Callisto in a knife fight? In a knife fight to the death, stabbed Callisto in the heart, which is something nobody thought she would ever do at that time. Right? To save the X-Men, in particular to save Angel, who had been kidnapped by Callisto. There was a long story behind this, right? Does she know that? Does she know that at all? Does she know anything about the fact that Rogue used to be a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants? Does that have to change now? The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, right? Magneto's group, right, which usually oppose the X-Men, which Mystique has often been a part of. Does that have to change now because of the word brotherhood, right? Which naturally, leans male, right? So how about that? Does she know? Does Victoria know that when Rogue ran away from home and went to the Xavier Institute for Gifted Youngsters, that the X-Men were literally ready to walk out on Xavier? Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, all ready to bounce because they hated Rogue at that time because Rogue had just damn near killed Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, and they were close friends of hers, in particular Wolverine, right? And how Charles had to pull rank and more or less give them a moral browbeating, reminding them of how they allowed Wolverine on the team despite his past. Does she know? Has she read the stories about when Rogue actually joins Logan in Japan and goes on a mission with him, and that's pretty much how she proves herself to him and the team. This was around the time that he was about to marry Mariko. This does not end well. But anyway, does she know anything about that? Does she know anything about the Phoenix Saga, right? The Dark Phoenix Saga? Does she know anything about that? Does she know anything about Jubilee's past, right? How she became an orphan because of a case of mistaken identity with her parents being murdered, right? Does she know anything about that? Does she know anything about the X-Men or the X-Women? Right? That's what I want to know, because I don't think she knows anything. I don't get the impression that she knows a damn thing about what the X-Men collectively stand for. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not trying to say that she needs to have read every single issue or read every single solo series or spin off series, which, believe it or not, at least two X Women have had solo series. Rogue had one back in the day, and I think Storms had a solo series at least twice. I think. I think she had one back in 2014. And I think she had one for a bit back in the 90s. I would have to look it up to be sure, but I know she's had at least one. Right? Whenever you think of a solo series with the X-Men, it's probably the Wolverine comics, which went on forever because of his massive popularity. But still, does Victoria Alonso know these things? Does she even look up or research these things? Or is she simply talking out of her backside? Now, as I was saying, you don't have to have read every single issue. I haven't read every single issue. Believe me, for all the issues that I have read of X-Men, there are more that I haven't. I'm not trying to necessarily pull cred, right? But when you say something like this, then yes, I'm going to question how much you actually know or understand about the X-Men, right? When you claim that the most diverse, inclusive group, what fudge happened? When you claim that the most diverse, inclusive group of of uh, uh, of teen books or characters that Marvel has probably ever done, right? The definitive diversity and inclusion teen book that again at one time was one of Marvel's biggest titles. Huge, sold hundreds of thousands of copies, right? On the regular, right? Wolverine became a star, right? An iconic character. When you say these things, it proves to me you are ignorant and you don't want to learn, and that gets under my skin greatly. I'm hard to offend, but I'm very easy to piss off, and this pisses me off. You know what? I'm reminded of a clip from the old X-Men TV show, which keep in mind, right, the animated series from the 90s, that your main hero team, your X-Men team, right, ran 9 characters deep, and 4 of them were women. Jean Grey, Storm, Rogue, Jubilee. And they were always featured. And they always worked together and they all got at least one focus episode. Some, like Storm, got 2. Storm got one when she goes back to Africa and has to deal with the Shadow King, I think it is. And then later on, she got one where she almost marries this Conan looking dude from a different planet until she realizes that he's a slaver. Right? But she got at least 2. Rogue got 1 or 2. I remember she got at least 1 because the one that she got was in connection with her history with Carol Danvers. And again, Carol was in a coma at this time. Right, so Jubilee got 1. And yeah, they Jean Grey had the whole damn Phoenix saga. Right, so she certainly got her day in the sun. Right, so all of those female characters were well represented, right, and were a part of the work, and they weren't just side characters or background characters. They were as main as Scott and Gambit and Logan and everybody else. Does she know that? Has she watched it? Right? The name the men. First of all, there is no need to remove males from society or from comics or anything. I as a female am so damn tired of media people like this trying to like erase or move men out of works by replacing them or demasculinizing them or just stop. I as a woman like guys. Men are not bad. You may have some individual humans who are male and bad, but men as a collective are not this evil thing that has to be moved out of society. No, no, stop it. This does not empower women. If you think that changing the name to X women or to something bland and generic will somehow make women feel empowered, I'm sorry, I don't think that's going to work. Women need men, men need women. Women like men like women. We need each other in our works. That was the thing about the X-Men, right? They were a family. All these people from these different backgrounds. Some of them, like Nightcrawler and Beast, don't even look human, right? They're blue and fuzzy. They can't go out as themselves in normal society. But the outcasts of the world found a home in the Xavier Institute, and they found a purpose as an X-Man. And now you want to move men out of it to promote females, which is not going to work. And now you want to drop the word men from the name, although men was inclusive in this case, same way the word man is inclusive when you talk about mankind or human, right? But there's a scene from one of the episodes of the TV show. And if I remember correctly, what's happening, the context of it is that the X-Men are going to rescue Senator Kelly, right? He's being attacked or whatever, he's been kidnapped, and they're going to go try to save him. And it's pretty much presented, they make it pretty open that it seems like at the time a suicide mission, right? So the question is, given that Senator Kelly wasn't exactly pro-mutant, is it worth it to go save him? And eventually everyone on the team, even Gambit, who's sort of like the holdout, goes and they go to try to rescue him. But right before they leave, uh, Jubilee tells Wolverine that she wants to go along. And naturally, because she's a child, Wolverine's like, you can't go with us on this one, kid. And Jubilee is on the brink of tears. And she's like, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm an X-Man. And this means as much to me as it does to you. And that's what changes Logan's mind. And that's when he relents and brings her along. When she identifies as an X-Man. When she makes it plain to him that she's as much a part of the team as everyone else is, as he is. And she has a right and she deserves to be on this mission as well. Because she's not a teenager in this instance. She's an X-Man. Now, you can question her reasoning and her logic, given that she really is a teenager. But you cannot question her heart and devotion. She wanted to go because her teammates, her family were going, and she wanted to go help out because she too identified as an X-Man. Not an X-woman, not an X-female, an X-Man. A member, 1 second. Sorry, as I was saying, Jubilee wanted in on this mission because she is a fellow X-Man. Not an X-woman, not an X-female, an X-Man. She's a member of the team. She's a member of the family. So, as a fan of the X-Men, I would like to keep the name X-Men. I am not offended by it. It is not sexist. Okay? And it is indicative and immediately identifies what I am a fan of. The X-Men, a particular group of individuals, of superheroes who happen to be mutants. Not just mutants. I am not a fan of the mutant. There are plenty of mutant characters Marvel has come up with over the years that I couldn't give a damn about. Dazzler being one of them. Sorry, Dazzler, you're just not interested. But I'm not interested in them. I'm interested in, and let's focus on it. Scroll, damn it. The X-Men. And that's what I want. The X-Men. Nothing more, nothing less. X-Men. Thank you. Anyway, I don't know how this video is gonna come out. If there are any issues, please let me know. But I hope everyone has a good day. I hope my day improves. And I will see y'all around. Bye.